As part of TIPC's Nordic Learning Event, we will look at the learning histories of Vinnova. But before we do this, we would like to provide you with a short introduction on what learning histories actually are. So, what exactly is a learning history? The term learning history describes the approach and techniques for capturing, documenting, and communicating learning in organizations. Learning histories are usually part of an approach to formative evaluation and reflexivity. A learning history is a tool that shall increase an organization's awareness of ongoing learning and change efforts. Learning histories can consist of one or multiple so-called living documents, which grow and develop as a project evolves. They can come in the form of a text or audiovisual, or both. Learning histories can basically be described as the representation of the organization talking to itself in a safe and carefully structured way, and about things that it needs to hear but maybe hasn't yet listened to. A learning history presents the experiences and understandings of participants and non-participants, in which participants are those who initiated, implemented, or took part in an organization's effort to change and transform, while non-participants are those who are affected by those changes. Capturing learning in organizations is not an easy task, as it requires gathering both cognitive data, so what people are thinking and in what ways their thinking changes, and behavioral data, so what people are doing and in what ways their actions change. A learning history can improve performance by making the thinking, experiences, and arguments of those who have encountered the same situation explicit, and thereby forces people to reflect on their experience on another level. So, in conclusion, learning histories can act as a catalyst for accelerating the knowledge co-production process. Learning histories can help researchers and practitioners to recognize and address the challenges involved in implementing change and embedding new knowledge in an organization. A learning history is as much a product as it is a process. It brings tacit knowledge to the surface, codifies it, and turns it into an actionable knowledge base. It basically helps organizations learn how to learn from both the good and the not so good elements of a given organizational change. The following interviews were conducted by Diana Velasco, who's a research fellow in Ingenio, and who's been working in close collaboration with Vinnova since February 2020 in order to develop and implement a formative evaluation approach.
For me, so far, I think it's been it has been continuously changing what my perception of how and what we're doing together. From the start, when I was quite a blank page around your work at TIPC and what was my role and how would we do this, and try to get as much information as possible. And then it turned more and more into communication from sort of me or my team or us trying to give you information about what we're doing and you giving us information on your work and your theories and your tools, to sort of how do we actually from information to communication. So how to work together and how to decode those pieces of information into something that we both understand and have a same page, are on the same page with.
In a few words, I'd say that it has been interesting, it's been challenging, but there has been progress. And it's the kind of project one likes to work on, because it's the counterpart is knowledgeable, have ideas, and can help you develop your own ideas. And so you find that there isn't a change, and it's a productive change. So in that sense, it's been a positive experience. Although it's been at sometimes a bit difficult, but to be positive, it has to be difficult. Otherwise, it's not that positive.
In one way, sometimes when thinking about all of this, my spontaneous feeling would be, to be totally honest, a little stressful still. Like I'm still not but on the other hand, if I would, especially if I would compare to the most stressful moments in this project, maybe in the midst of the spring, I also feel very sort of calm and confident and almost, I would almost say proud in some way actually at this point, because I feel that we have already achieved something that I know is very rare in terms of collaborations between organizations, and in terms of, like, I know myself from other work in other contexts that this way of finding a way to collaborate where we don't end up in a consultancy role, or like from one way or another, or where we can meet as researchers and practitioners in a way that is truly collaborative and like mutually vulnerable, is something that is super rare, I would say.
And I think during the process and during our interaction, we have been able to reconfigure this and to produce like a common space of discussion, encounters, and sharing perspective. And this has been really, I mean, fruitful and really meaningful for myself. I think with that engagement, with this particular engagement, I'm learning a lot. So I feel satisfied for that. I also feel engaged with the process, and with the feeling of myself that I'm learning and on what I'm doing, and which is for me is something very important in what I do normally, and mainly in this formative evaluation methodology, because we are testing and creating the methodology at the same time we're doing it. So it's just learning by doing and experimenting and discussing. So it's, I feel satisfied. That's and proud of all of us for what we did all together.
And so it's very useful for you guys to kind of force us to think about articulating the end goal, and then come back to a set of the outcomes that could deliver that end goal in some way. So that kind of that was kind of quite practical for me. Again, that's quite useful. Even though I want to say, well, we will need to construct those in partnership and collaboration as we go. Because my theory of change is that it's highly located, highly cultural. Back to our previous conversation, very specific. It's almost like street by street, or school by school, and we can obviously unlock bits of system change through regulation and capability building. But in reality, it's still street by street and it's still school by school.
I would say that it's been a process of mutual understanding, of, in my case, of deep learning, to bring together different conceptions, methodologies, knowledge, cultural settings as well, on how to approach innovation policy.
It was partly a process of trying to understand each other. There was a lot of goodwill on both sides, so there was a lot of commitment. And I think it still exists. It's also the case that what we're trying, we all walking in the dark a bit. We are partners in crime.